Hello, my name is Julie and I'm here to find out my TBR for Becca's Bookopolathon. So if you haven't heard of Bookopolathon before, this is a readathon that has been hosted for a couple of years now by Becca and the Books on YouTube, and she has been doing a monthly TBR game for several years now called Bookopoly. It is a Monopoly themed board game that determines her TBR for the month, and this was one of the games that popularized TBR games. So this is a version of her Bookopoly that she does specifically for this readathon. There are occasionally weekend-long ones, but there is usually a month-long annual one in the fall. I've participated in this before and it was a ton of fun. I read some books that I wasn't expecting to and ended up finding some new favorites. So because there are a lot of books that I kind of want to read, but I've been having trouble picking which one I want to do next, I thought I would go back to my roots and do a readathon, so this picks it for me. If you would like to know any of the rules or more information about participating or what the hell is going on, I will link Becca's stuff in the description. There is all the information you need down below. So the board this year is very personalized to the individual. A lot of the things were about your favorite thing, and you get to pick the cards, of course. So I think I will be able to fit in the books that I need to read this month. I have one arc that is being published at the beginning of September, so I need to read that. And I also have my book club, 3 of Clubs. I need to get our September book in here. Other than that, I have 2 themed reading vlogs going on, so if I can fit an entire TBR into this, that'd be great. I find that'll probably not work out, but if I can get 1 or 2 in here, that would be great. The only specific rules to me that we need to know is that I am going to be aiming for 6 rolls. If I get any doubles, I will have to add a roll, and I think that that will be it. So let's get started on my board and go for roll number 1. Alrighty, let's get started on rolling. First off, I'm going to be using this little rock for my piece, starting on go. And I have my 2 d6s, and I do want to shout out the Etsy store where my sister got these. Have little green dinosaurs in them, and it's so sweet. But alrighty, let's go for round 1. 2 and 1. So that is a book under 300 pages. So for roll number 1, I landed on a book under 300 pages, which is fantastic because the arc that I need to read is under 300 pages. And that is Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke by Eric LaRocca. This was originally this short novella that we can see here, but specific book is no longer in print because this novella is going to be published with 2 other short stories as a collection that is going to be called Things Have Gotten Worse Since We Last Spoke and Other Stories, and that is the arc that I've been approved for, so I need to read that before it is published on September 6th. Quick little story about my relationship with this book. I first saw this at a Barnes & Noble, having never seen it before, and I just saw this cover. I almost bought it right on the spot because I am obsessed with this new trend, particularly when it is in horror, of someone's face being sort of blurred or obscured. And this title, I love long descriptive titles in a literary, thrillery, horror-y type setting particularly. Almost bought it, and that is super unlike me to pick up a book and buy it if I've never even heard of it. And then not very long after that, it goes viral and I see it other places. I see 5 stars from people that I trust and I immediately go to try and buy it. But by that point, it had gone out of print. I don't love this cover as much as I love this. So I purposefully got this from the library, and then I found out that I was getting approved for the arc. I'm probably going to read the version that is specifically in the ebook because I know there have been some minor changes, just because I want to review the thing that is actually going to be published, but I do have this because I think it's so freaking beautiful. Now about the plot of it. This is a horror novella that is a found document compilation that is 2 women in the very early days of the internet having a interaction in a chat room. That sort of spirals into something very dark. I have no idea where this is going to go, but I am definitely anticipating a 5-star read. Stuff like this, weird stuff like this, has been something I have really been trying to reach for ever since I read Bunny. There isn't a whole lot of synopsis because it is so short and it's supposed to be surprising, but it says sadomasochism, obsession, death, has a little synopsis, and then it ends with, "What have you done today to deserve your eyes?" I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed already, and I'm so sad that I will never have this on my shelves.
Roll 2. Oh no, we got doubles. That means I will be rolling a 7th time, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A book with a building on the cover.
Okay, roll number 2, a building on the cover. This ended up being the most challenging one for me to find. I was desperate and I almost had to pick something entirely different that would have shifted things and made this TBR so much harder to accomplish, but in a last-minute attempt to get a book onto my TBR, I looked up the non-American covers of a book that I need to read soon, and that is Edge Dancer by Brandon Sanderson, and I found out the UK copy of this has buildings on it. Thank God. This is a novella that's over 300 pages, so Brandon, is it really a novella that is in the Stormlight archives, that is a part of the Cosmere? This is a basically essential read for the series that takes place between books 2 and 3, Words of Radiance and Oathbringer. This is about a main character who we saw briefly in book 2. Her name is Lift. She's starting to discover that she has different magical powers, and she is afraid that she is being chased down by something called the Darkness. And even though she's found a safe haven, she is finding out that the Darkness is killing off people who are like her, and she thinks that this safe haven might not be so safe. I'm really excited to see something in the Cosmere that is a dedicated story to one character, particularly because I found this character so fascinating in book 2.
Roll number 3. That's an 8. That is a community shelf card. So I have a few prompts in here that I've made, and let's see, which one do I feel like doing? I don't. Let's do this one. Buddy read.
On to roll number 3, so we got community shelf. I put this buddy read card in here to give myself an easy one to read. There were wrenches thrown in that plan. So I decided to ask my sister if she would like to do a buddy read with me with any book that she currently has. And a book that I bought her a while ago that neither of us have read, that both of us have been wanting to get into, is The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton. This is an Agatha Christie style murder mystery with a speculative twist. Our main character witnesses the death of Evelyn Hardcastle, but through some sort of curse type magic, he ends up having to relive this day over and over until he solves the mystery of who killed Evelyn and has to stop it. But he keeps waking up in a different body of a person at this fancy manor party every single day. And this has just been on my TBR for a long time, and I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I love a good murder mystery, and I love me some time travel. And I can't wait to discuss this with my sister.
Roll number 4. That's a 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh my god, a chance card. This is a bunch of books on my TBR. I'm not looking. Please be something shorter. Before the coffee gets cold.
So roll 4, we got that chance card, and this is the reason why I couldn't do buddy read for my book club. So as you saw, I picked Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Tozikashu Kawaguchi, which was also translated from Japanese by Jeffrey Trosselot. So every quarter, 3 of clubs in my book club reads a different narrative trope or subgenre, and I chose time travel. The last of the 3 books that we read is voted on by the group, and they voted for this book, which has been making its rounds on Book Talk. This is about a cafe that for hundreds of years has offered a very specific thing to its clients, and that is the opportunity to go back in time and change your past. The rules are very simple. You have to sit in a specific seat in the cafe, you cannot leave the cafe, and you must return to the present before the coffee gets cold. Something about that I absolutely love. We follow 4 different people who come to this cafe looking to change their past for 4 different reasons, and I know one of these stories in particular has made a lot of people cry, and I want to be emotionally invested, and I can't wait to talk about this book with other people. So if you want to join us this month in reading this book, information is down in the description.
Roll number 5. Oop, that's a foul. That's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. A book that features a romance.
So for roll 5, we got a book that has a strong romantic plot line. So I could have gone with any number of books for this, but I have been in the mood to read one particular extremely intimidating book. I think it's time. I think I'm gonna give it 5 stars, but I want to take my time with it, and I think if it's gonna happen this year, it's gonna happen now. This is the only book that I planned on reading in 2021 that I never got around to, and that is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. Is this too ambitious for me to get done when senior year is starting? Possibly. This is a Russian classic novel that takes place on the backdrop of a lot of cultural and industrial changes happening in Russia. We follow over a dozen main characters. There are tons of different main plot lines that are going on, but the one that all of the other plot lines are centered around is of a woman, Anna Karenina, who is sort of a socialite who is unhappily married and is pursuing a love affair with a man who wants her to leave her husband for him. And a lot of things go down because of the choices that they make. And I love this copy of this classic that I got from my local bookstore, Page 158 Books, and it has a bunch of quotes on it that made me want to read this book even more, and I really want to annotate it, research it a lot, and just absorb as much as I can out of this classic. So I'm probably going to read a couple other lighter books alongside this just so I can not have to go through this at breakneck speed to keep up with my reading challenge, and also make sure I am enjoying this as much as I possibly can.
Roll number 6. Another 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. A book that is in third-person perspective.
So roll number 6 was a vague prompt that I thought would be way easier to get a book for, but all of the books that I just happened to have on me didn't fit this third-person perspective of like a singular character. They were multi-perspective, or they were first-person, or they were first-person multi-perspective. But one book that I did have on hand that I almost tried to cheat and make it my building prompt is The Bright Land by John Fram. This is a horror novel that is set in this like Friday Night Lights town. This is about our main character who was from this small town and was essentially exiled when he came out as gay and has been living in New York City ever since. But one day he gets a call from his younger brother, who he hasn't really talked a lot to, and is the star of their hometown's football team. They're finally going to make the playoffs and everything, and it's all very exciting. But the phone call is really weird and doesn't sound like his younger brother is really in his right mind. Something's scaring him. Our main character decides to drop everything and come home, try to support his younger brother, but by the time he gets there, his brother has gone missing. This could get really fucking weird, which is what I've heard from people when I said that I was going to be reading this soon, and I couldn't be more excited to get into a weird, possibly sci-fi is what I get the vibes, kind of sci-fi type horror.
And hopefully our last roll, roll number 7. And that is our last roll, and that's an 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Randomize my TBR.
We did get doubles, but luckily it was only one time. The last book, the 7th book that is going to be on my TBR for the month. Let me go shuffle my Goodreads shelves and see what we get. Hello and welcome to my new apartment that my room is currently under construction, as you can see from the stuff on the floor, but I have my Goodreads pulled up right here and we are going to do my randomize my TBR. How I've decided to do this in the past is how I'm going to do it now. So I have 2 TBR shelves on Goodreads. One of them is more my priority, I'm definitely going to read TBR, and then the other one is my keeping an eye out. So those are books that I'm less sure or just want to keep bookmarked for now. So I'm going to randomize both shelves and choose between the books that come up first for either of them. That way I can make sure that I'm likely to have ready access to one or the other. Let's go into my books and then my want to read shelf, and we are going to go and randomize it. Let's see. Please. Ooh, the first choice was Persuasion. Okay, I do not have that book on me at school, but I do own a copy. And now to keeping an eye out, which it might randomize it when I click on it. It might not. Let's see. Keeping an eye out shelf. Is it? Oh, it did randomize it. And that is Where Futures End by Parker Peavy House. I have an upcoming vlog that I think that this is a very likely option for it to get picked. So yeah, I'll have to think about that. Okay, so we got Persuasion by Jane Austen and Where Futures End by Parker Peavy House. About Persuasion, I love Jane Austen. Pride and Prejudice is one of my favorite books of all time, and I have been reading one Jane Austen a year for the last couple years until I read all of her books. Mansfield Park was the Jane Austen that I was planning on reading next, just sort of on a whim, and the other one was Where Futures End, and I think that this author might be in a future vlog that I have to do. But this isn't actually at my library. I'm gonna have to get it through Audible. So this was a tough choice to make, but I am going to be reading Where Futures End by Parker Peavy House because I don't have any other audiobooks particularly picked out on this TBR. So I'm probably gonna spend a lot of the month reading all of these. Funny thing about this is that this is also a time travel novel and it was absolutely randomly picked. So that's great. The synopsis is also very vague, and that is because we follow 5 different characters, all doing 5 different plot lines, and they're all going to come together at some point, which is great because that is something I usually really love in books. So this is a YA sci-fi involving some sort of time travel and possibly some sort of alternate universe type thing, where we have 5 teenagers spanning from 1 year from now to over 100 years from now, all spread out through time, and they are all discovering new things about their reality at like varying levels of dystopia, which sounds insanely intriguing, but I know it has low ratings, so I don't know if I'm going to be going with the crowd on this one or not, but it is extremely exciting, isn't it? Alrighty, so those are all the books that I'm going to be reading in September specifically for this readathon. I got my ARC, I got my book club book, and I did make progress on both of these secret TBRs that I have coming up, even if I didn't get an entirety of either of them on here. Oh well. But anyways, thank you so much for watching me try to figure out my TBR. I spent so long trying to make a good list that I was happy with, so it took a while for me to actually film this part, but I'm glad that you made it to the end here with me. Please let me know if you're doing Becca's Bookopolathon because I'd love to see you get your TBR and participate with you. I don't know if I'm going to be on the Discord, but I definitely will be updating my progress on Instagram. So if you would like to follow me anywhere, my links are in the description, as well as information about Becca's Bookopoly and my book club. And as always, I will see you in the next one.